And so we continue now in part two of this week's lecture with other project management knowledge areas. Continue. It's just a good review. You'll see in here scope, schedule, cost, probably in the last slide actually. Integration is what you do, and that's how you manage all of these knowledge areas. There are 10 of them along the way. And so with these knowledge areas, you're going to apply tools and techniques. Do you remember that definition of what is project management? Right? It was using the knowledge and skills, that's what you and your team bring, and the tools and techniques. Bam, this is that part of the definition. The PMBOK guide, every single process offers you tools and techniques that it recommends to you. Like in scope management, we will talk the work breakdown structure. As part of your assignment for week one, you will develop a project charter, right? These are tools you need as a project manager. I've already talked a little bit about project success. I did mention the triple constraint is still to this day the measure of success on a project. That's coming on scope, on schedule, and on cost, okay? But there are others. That used to be the only measure of success. Today, there are others, including, as I already mentioned, satisfying the needs of the stakeholders. I've had projects that failed, but because I kept stakeholders informed along the way and they authorized changes, they got the answer, they received the answer that they needed in the end, which was, this is not something we're ready to pursue, right? And it saves them a fortune in the end, but I satisfied the stakeholders throughout, okay? It's important to note what went right there. Again, back to the Standish group, who does a lot of studies. Please pause this slide and review that at your leisure. Plenty of things go right, and some things don't. So you want to make notes on lessons learned. From day one of your project, you want to be collecting lessons learned, and by the end of your project, you will be expected to publish them so that everybody knows and you're sharing knowledge. That's very important in project manager, sharing knowledge. And so the project management framework that I mentioned at the very first slide is based on the PMBOK 7th edition, and this is just a general overview. It's going to apply these project management principles to guide the behavior which allows you to manage planning, the teams, stakeholders, uncertainty, which is risk, quality and measurement and delivery. You're trying to guide the behavior to manage all these to, in the end, ensure project performance, okay? So there's some new terminology in the 7th edition of the PMBOK guide. They are listed here. This one is not new, tailoring. Tailoring, they may have redefined it, but it's not new. But it's a very important word to project managers. Because your project is unique, you plan it so you won't have changes in detail. But because it's unique and never been done, you expect you will learn things over the life of the project. So you have to tailor it. And so we use that word I mentioned earlier, progressive elaboration. Very important word. Well, tailoring also is a very important word. Because you will make adjustments or changes to your project, you will have to tailor scope, schedule, or cost, right? If you change any one of them, the other two are going to change. So you have to tailor your project and make trade-offs as you learn new information. Again, some more terms in the current version of the PMBOK guide. Okay, a program is really just multiple projects. So we will talk throughout this course about project management, a single massive billion-dollar project. Okay, a program are multiple projects, right, that are related to each other. And so you gain benefits by being managed by a program manager who is managing several project managers. The PMBOK guide will call a mega project anything over $1 billion, just FYI. Here's a cool media snapshot, some neat stuff here. If you Google the Panama Canal, you'll see it was really two projects. The Panama Canal, which allows shipping to expedite movement from the Atlantic to the Pacific. It was two projects, first one by the French, which failed, the second one led by the Americans, which succeeded. Now, we learned a lot of lessons from the French, so we're grateful. The French largely pursued the Panama Canal in exactly the same way as the Suez Canal. They said Suez was a big success. Let's do it again in Panama. But that makes my point. Every project is unique, and the same principles didn't all apply in Panama. So anyhow, you can Google that and read on your own about the Panama Canal. Very interesting. And some other examples that were on that page. And so these are just examples of a program manager. There might be a program manager for ABC Construction who will have a program about single-family housing, maybe one-story and two-story projects underneath. Apartment buildings, maybe tall apartment buildings would be one project, and another would be duplexes, right? And office buildings, etc., and the variations of projects that fall under there as an example. Now, we've talked project management, which is us, a project manager running it, a program, which is above us, and it's a program manager runs several projects, and now a portfolio manager, which is the umbrella above all of this, which will run programs and projects, and it will make sure you remain aligned with the strategic values of the company. It will provide you expertise if you need it. It will offer training if your project team needs some enhancement. It will help you find resources and offer templates. The portfolio management function is very important, but at a very high level, okay? And so we'll move through that. Now, associated with project management, it used to be we talked project management, which was this waterfall method that I've been talking about, or predictive projects, because we're able to predict the outcome. Agile is different. And what we found is most projects today are a hybrid, have some aspects of Agile, and are largely waterfall or predictive driven, right? The most common type of Agile is Scrum, although there must be 100 variations of Agile today. About 40% of them use Scrum and a Scrum Master and have sprints as they develop their product. But Agile, the difference is Agile is change-driven, where what we've been talking about with the PMBOK guide and the process groups and the knowledge areas, that is risk-driven. It's out to minimize risk because we already know a lot about our project. Agile is change-driven. We don't know a lot about it, so we want to enhance and rapidly expedite change along the way. Okay, and so here's a cartoon joke about Agile frameworks, how they've proliferated. It makes my point. There are a ton of them, right? Scrum being one of the most used. But I will also say, if you're interested in a great certification for Agile, look up SAFE Agile, S-A-F-E. It's a great way to go. Now, Agile started only about 22 years ago or so. It's not that old. It's one reason we have so many variations today. Everybody has a good idea. And it started from this Agile Manifesto, which is in no matter what form of Agile you're using, the manifesto is the key. And it's to deliver quality product fast, adding value. Value is the most important thing right away, okay? And it comes with 12 principles. They're listed here. I'd pause this slide and review them a little bit. It's worth your time, I think, but not the focus of this course. But just understand Agile and this other form of project management called waterfall are often integrated in a hybrid approach, right? Keep in mind as you read through the Agile Manifesto, it creates an Agile mindset, which is very different from the waterfall or predictive style of project management, which I've been talking about. In Agile, for example, I would encourage fail fast, because the faster I fail, the more I can implement a change. Remember, it's change driven, and move on, right? I've learned a lesson. In waterfall or predictive, I never want to fail. Failure's not my goal, right? So Agile definitely has a mindset wrapped around the 12 points of the manifesto, okay? So we've been studying here predictive projects, but we incorporate a little bit nowadays of Agile, and frankly, most projects are a hybrid of them, okay? For example, in a hybrid, for my waterfall or predictive projects, I will bring in an Agile tool called the Daily Stand-Up. Right? I don't need to go into it today. You could look it up on your own. But the Daily Stand-Up is an Agile tool that I use in my waterfall projects. Okay? So the whole profession is great because we're able to fulfill projects regardless of the approach, whether it's change-driven or risk-driven. So whether it's Agile or predictive waterfall projects. Okay? And either way, project managers need some common skills. And so these list the key skills for project managers. I frankly break down all project management skills into 4: leadership skills, management skills, technical skills, and interpersonal skills, right? You don't have a lot of power. So interpersonal skills becomes a huge, good IQ, good emotional IQ is a great way to keep people open to your project and supporting your efforts. So those 4 pillars are the key skills in my mind for project managers: leadership skills, management skills, technical skills, and interpersonal skills or good emotional IQ. When I say technical skills, I really break that further down into 2 other categories. One is a technical skill in your industry, construction or IT, and the other is the project management technical skills that you learn in the PMBOK guide. PMI likes to emphasize a talent triangle. So they emphasize technical skills. I just mentioned that. They emphasize understanding strategic and business skills and leadership skills. So we're fairly aligned. But PMI will call that the talent triangle. It's worth noting along the way. Okay, here are additional skills. So if you go up the chain, if you're not just a project manager anymore, but you're a program manager managing several projects, or a portfolio manager managing programs and projects, these would be some skills that you would want to develop. Notice a program and project are very similar. A program is really just a project on steroids. Portfolio management becomes very different between them. Here's a good slide to pause. It's a best practice. Remember, the PMBOK guide is a set of good practices applicable throughout the world. But here's a best practice you could pause and review. Worth your time, I believe. I always encourage people to, besides your coursework at the university, pursue the PMP certification, the Project Management Professional. It will distinguish you. And I've mentioned that for some jobs, it is mandated, like some government jobs above a certain dollar value. Most HR ads for project professionals will say PMP either required or preferred. So it gives you the edge up. And you can see the number of project managers growing throughout the years. I probably got mine back here when there were about 400,000 of us. Now they're over 1 million and growing. That's proof of its value. You can get other certifications. Prince 2 is another type of project management certification for sure. Scrum is an agile portion. I mentioned Safe Agile is another one. So there are others, but PMP by far is the one that's the biggest. Here's some dollar figures if you want to join PMI.org, and it's worth it, right? But it's up to you. Project management does apply ethics because ethics would emphasize not wasting resources, being honest, right? Those sort of things. So telling people if something is going wrong, not hiding it. Though, if you join PMI.org, you must comply with the ethics they require. And there are plenty of careers listed. You could pause this slide and read that yourself about the project management career path. There is project management software, but it is no replacement for project manager because the software can't integrate all of the knowledge areas. The same would be true for Agile along the way. Okay, that's going to conclude week 1. I look forward to seeing you online.